Asian women take pride in the rhythm of their heritage and tradition. But they also know they can change the beat of their lives if their health and the health of those they care about will be protected. They will do everything they can. Cancer of the cervix is one of the most common kinds of cancer affecting women. There are about 500,000 new cases of cervical cancer worldwide. More than 50% of deaths from cervical cancer are in Asia. Not many know about cervical cancer, and for those who do, it only hits home when it strikes someone they care about. The Asian woman belongs to a tradition that largely endures suffering in silence. But at a time of urgency and resolve, the Asian woman rises and takes the important step of learning and realizing there are ways to help prevent it. We journey to the frontiers of cervical cancer awareness campaigns in Asia. There we meet women and doctors who push through the barriers of silence, ignorance, and indifference to get the message across that there are ways to help prevent cervical cancer and other diseases.
Our whole lives, all our lives are surrounded. We're surrounded by women, you know. We have mothers, sisters, cousins, nieces, friends,
close friends,
And especially Malaysian women, I think Asian women in general, we rarely even speak of the nether regions.
Yeah.
You know, so
taboo, like that.
it's taboo, you know. We live in a society, can I say it, you know, that's in denial about a lot of these things. So I think that's what we're here for, not just to learn for ourselves, because we're just as ignorant, or we were just as ignorant and just a little bit more informed than most other women out there right
and
now.
also this thing about probably this Asian women, when you think about the pantang.
Yeah.
You know, if something is bad, pantang, don't talk about it. Yeah. So
because if you speak of it, it will come after you.
Yeah. You know, so it's like fighting off this grandmother's tales. So that's
so we'd like to change that, because I believe that ignorance is the biggest killer.
Sebagai duta kampanye cegah kanker serviks di Indonesia, saya banyak sekali mempelajari mengenai penyakit ini. Saya tahu bahwa setiap tahunnya ada sekitar 15.000 perempuan Indonesia yang terdiagnosa dengan kanker serviks, dan kurang lebih 8.000 diantaranya meninggal dunia. Ini artinya setiap harinya ada 40 perempuan yang terdiagnosa dan lebih dari separuhnya meninggal dunia. Ini merupakan fakta yang sangat mengkhawatirkan. Saya menyadari bahwa peran saya sebagai duta sangat penting. Karena saya melihat bahwa pengetahuan wanita Indonesia tentang kanker serviks itu masih amat sangat kurang.
我知道咧，其實一個好健康嘅生活習慣好緊要啦，同埋每一年咧去做 Pap test 啦。我都希望其他年輕嘅女士同埋一啲嘅媽媽會保護佢哋自己同埋佢哋嘅女兒，遠離子宮頸癌同埋 HPV 嘅疾病。
除咗女性本身之外，我亦都認為佢哋嘅公司應該有多啲嘅行動去支持、去教育佢哋去預防子宮頸癌同埋 HPV 相關嘅疾病。
Cervical cancer develops in the cervix, the cone-shaped part of the uterus that connects the upper part of the uterus and the vagina. Cervical cancer develops when abnormal cells in the lining of the cervix begins to multiply out of control. Virtually all cervical cancers are caused by some types of human papilloma virus, HPV for short. HPV infection is most common among young adults between the age of 18 to 28. Anyone who has had any kinds of sexual activity involving genital contact could get genital HPV. It is possible to get the virus without having intercourse. Since many people who have HPV infection may not show any signs or symptoms, they can transmit the virus without even knowing.
Most HPV infections clear on their own, but for some women, certain types of HPV can cause cervical cancer or other HPV-related diseases.
저는 2001년 자궁 경부암 상기 진단을 받은 후 많은 절망과 고통이 있었지만 항암 치료와 방사선 치료를 병행하여 현재는 건강하게 완치된 상태입니다. 환우들의 쾌유와 완치를 위한 조금만 가짐을 합니다.
I am a naturally positive and strong person. More than my shock and fear, I wanted to be cured. I told my husband and 2 daughters, and they stood by me throughout the treatment. I realized that this disease is unfamiliar to many people, especially women, so I started telling my colleagues and friends about this disease. It is my responsibility now to help make sure that my daughters do not suffer the same disease as I did.
Cervical cancer is one of the most common cancers in Thai women. About 6,000 new cases are diagnosed each year, and each day 7 Thai women die from this disease.
Cervical cancer is a serious problem in Korea. It affects women at relatively young age compared to other cancers.
Cervical cancer is very high incidence of cancer in Taiwan. About 1 year, we have 3,700 patients. 子宫颈癌不仅仅是老年妇女的专利，许多女性罹患子宫颈癌都是在她们青春壮年、事业最有成就的时候。
Cervical cancer strikes many women in all of Asia. When a woman dies of this cancer, a life is not simply lost. Rather, a husband loses a wife, the children lose a mother, and the family is destabilized psychologically, financially, and socially. HPV infection can start as early as the sexual debut. Girls in high school and college should know more about HPV and the types that can cause cervical cancer and other diseases.
Hey guys, look! I think we should kick off a campaign to raise awareness about cervical cancer around campus. Can you imagine, out of the 4 of us, 3 of us might get HPV infections? I want university students to learn more about HPV. Go see your doctor today.
We want to tell our young girls that they should be aware of cervical cancer.
You might be curious to know that in Asian countries, the age of sexual debut, and that means the age of first sexual encounter, is occurring at an earlier age. At your age, this is certainly not one of the cool stuff that you usually talk about. But did you know that half the women who develop cervical cancer are between the ages 35 and 55 years old? And when do you think did they get exposed to these types of HPV that can cause cervical cancer? At your age, the late teens and 20s.
In Singapore, many young women may be aware of cervical cancer, but are they taking any preventive actions? I have been hearing about new ways that women can protect themselves against the HPV types that cause cervical cancer and other diseases.
And I think my role today is to really remind all of us that we should do whatever we can to help prevent something that is, I think, an issue that's very close to women's heart.
No matter how busy you are, never take your health for granted. Women should see their doctor regularly and learn all they can.
We can help prevent cervical cancer through healthy lifestyle, regular cervical cancer screening, and medical interventions. Asian women will do everything they can to help beat cervical cancer before it starts. What would you do to help prevent cervical cancer and other HPV diseases?
Everything can. Saya ingin setiap perempuan siapapun dia melindungi dirinya dari kanker serviks dan penyakit HPV lainnya.
我會盡我一切能力去保護我自己同埋我2個女，遠離子宮頸癌同埋 HPV 引致嘅疾病。
To not be afraid, to not be in denial.
Everything we can! Everything we can!
Don't wait. Get more information and talk to your doctor.